Hey guys, AniMind here and welcome back to my video. This is part 2 of episode 1 of my video series about my storyline. Now, if you do not understand what any of those words mean, please watch the video that I am probably linking in the tag above me. Now, basically, where we left off is at the symbols of magic, which I'm completely done with. That is done and explained. But I want to elaborate on learning magic and the genetics associated with learning that magic. So today we are talking about genetics and learning magic. Yes. Now, our main case study will be Victoria Maroon, which is one of our two main characters. Now, she's extremely well versed in using magic. She is really good at it, and she is a very powerful character. Now, the reason for this, there are two reasons. Number one being that she is a human. Well, she was a human, technically still is, but I'll get to that in a minute. And the reason why being human is extremely good for if you want to start using magic, as I said in the last video, is humans that do not use magic pass on their magical energy over generations. So if you come from a long lineage of non-magic users and you start using magic, you'll be extremely proficient and extremely good at using that magic. And this exact thing happened to Victoria. All her ancestors were just muggles. They did not use magic. And then here she comes. She is adopted by Scarlet Maroon, whom is a wizard. No, who is a druid. And a druid is sort of like the females are called witches, and it's a derogatory term. It's kind of like a slur. And the male druids are called vampires. And these things are all just from stereotypes about these people, and I will get into more detail about the different species later. But just know, Scarlet is a different species than Victoria, but they are both technically hominids. Yes. Now, basically, what happens is Scarlet teaches Victoria magic, and now obviously, because of her ancestors not having used magic, she is extremely powerful. But there is another, much more important factor that comes into play here, and it is when you start learning magic. Now, our lucky Victoria learns magic between the age of 5 and 10, around like 7 or 8, and the reason why this is extremely important is learning how to use magic is sort of like learning a new language. The younger you are doing it, the better you are at speaking that language. Because if you are older, your brain chemistry is more stable, and your brain doesn't like to learn new things. So basically, if you want to learn magic, you need to be extremely young, which Victoria luckily was when she started learning magic. Now, you might have noticed something about Victoria's complexion over these few slides, and that relates to how pink her skin is. Now, the younger she is in my storyline, the more peach colored, the more normal skin colored her skin is. She is white. But over time, her skin becomes more and more pink, more magenta or violet like. She becomes pinker. And basically, the reason for this is quite simple actually, and it is because of her long-term interaction with magic. Now, magical energy is like most other forms of energy. It is, if it is just standing still, if it is just sitting there, then it will release radiation, like if something is hot. But where most things let out infrared radiation when it's hot, magical things let out a bit more volatile radiation, things like gamma radiation, X-rays and stuff like that. And what this causes is some slight genetic variation in creatures. Now, the amount of radiation it releases is quite small, so you won't get cancer if you spend a year working with it, but and the only times it can become cancerous is if it's over a lifetime that you're working with these volatile substances. And the fun fact is, since magical creatures use magic, their immune systems are also boosted, so they rarely actually even get cancer. So it sort of balances out. but there is slight genetic change that wouldn't be considered volatile but is different. And this is why there are so many different kinds of hominid species which can no longer have children with humans, which are no longer humans, but that are still human-like. And all of these species that are like humans but that aren't humans are creatures who were humans that used a lot of magic and then eventually just mutated further and further and became different. A good example of this are the giants, and they are minor creatures who mine extremely powerful crystals which emit tons of radiation when you move them around and things. And the giants, having mined these crystals, the giants and dwarfs, having mined these crystals for thousands of years, have become so differentiated from humans that they look like monsters. And many call them monsters, but they are actually still quite human in their brains. Now, the last topic for today's video will be magical crystals. Now, how magical crystals work is they are most magical crystals that will be used in the series that aren't like directly named as the crystal that they are will be quartz and silicon. Well, quartz is technically also silicon, but silicon based rocks like quartz, like maybe granite. I want to make some more less pure gemstone kind of rocks too, but most of the rocks I will be talking about will be quartz based. And the reason for that is in this series, quartz is a great storage mechanism for magical energy, just like humans are, but it's an inanimate object, so it can't run away from you. And there are a bunch of different crystals, and it's not only crystals. Most materials technically have some kind of magical property, but this is most pronounced with crystals because of their association in fantasy and even sci-fi of being, magical objects that contain some amount of energy of some kind. So I just want to keep with that, because I also agree that crystals have a kind of wonder about them that make them just feel have some sort of magnitude within them. And basically each and every rock that exists will have some property eventually. At the moment I have worked out a few, like for example quartz, zircons. If you have two zircons that are paired, if the one gets really hot, the other will also get hot, meaning that you can transport a lot of energy without any conductors if you want to. Like for example, most metals that are conductive and normally can also conduct magical energy. As I said in the previous video, salt can absorb magical energy. Obsidian, which is black like a black hole, can absorb a lot of magical energy, but it destroys it. So it's basically just a killing machine technically, because all life runs on magical energy, and if a organism loses all of its magical energy, then it dies. So that's also an important point, that you need at least a slight bit of magic to survive. But yeah, that is all for this video. Thank you for watching this second part of episode 1. Tomorrow, or the day after that, pretty soon, I'll release part 3, which will be the final part of this episode, but I will still continue with the series, of course. But yeah, then we will be covering the spirits and magical symbols. Not much, but it's a quite dense topic, so it won't be a short video. Thank you for watching. I have been AniMind. Please leave a like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Have a nice day, and goodbye.